Whatever kind of classroom you may find yourself walking into, empowering educators is the spark, the anchor, and the perspective you need. It is your quick hit of clarity and perspective, crafted for teachers who want to teach with purpose, build stronger relationships, and create classrooms where students thrive. Think of it as your daily dose of good practice in action. Practical, grounded, and designed to create spaces where students feel seen, safe, and ready to learn, while also allowing teachers to find their own authentic flow. All right, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to Empowering Educators. This is Ben Russell from Empowerment Ed. Today's episode is going to focus on the bread and butter of classroom management, responding to those low-level behaviours in classroom settings, or, if you want to be a little bit more formal, the level 1 of undesirable behaviours, which will be found in most behaviour policies in schools. Any experienced teacher knows the snowball effect of leaving low-level behaviours unchecked. As much as we want to ignore them and hope that they disappear, the reality is we're working with teenagers, which means the probability of that behaviour changing is extremely low. The old saying, "a stitch in time saves 9, has never been more relevant in classroom management, especially when it comes to nipping low-level behaviours in the bud. It's something every teacher should have at the forefront of their practice. Just to be sure we're on the same page, low-level behaviour normally shows up in two forms. Firstly, through inattentive behaviour. That could be students drifting off, staring out the window, fiddling with equipment, little side conversations, starting slow, or quietly disengaging from the task. And number 2, that is disruptive behaviour. That could be tapping, whispering, calling out, distracting others, or off-task movement. We tend to jump to the disruptive stuff first because it's louder and more obvious. But addressing all low-level behaviour early is one of the most effective ways we, as the relational managers, maintain the flow of the lesson. It keeps students on task and protects the learning, most importantly, for everyone else. And one of the most powerful ways in which we do this is not what we say, but what we do. This is known by many names, but one that I like to call the non-verbal redirection. A simple, non-textbook definition of this: it's simply redirecting students back onto the required task, that be listening or working, using every medium except your voice. Our voice is a valuable tool, of course, but if we use it for every correction, we risk becoming white noise. And more importantly, we want to save our voice for teaching, not just living in behaviour land. So let's get into some examples of non-verbal redirection. There are plenty of ways this can be done, but a few tried and tested and proven strategies we should all have up our sleeve I wish to share today. There are plenty of ways to deliver the non-verbal redirection, but there are a few tried and tested strategies that I'd love to share with you today. Number 1, the classic eye contact. That is, during instruction or when students are working from an influence position, a quick glance and staring at the problem communicates to the student, "I see you and I need you back with me," without breaking the flow. Number 2, proximity control. This is simply the teacher moving to the area of the classroom or towards the student that is causing the disruption and being a physical presence closer to them. You don't stop talking, you don't stop breaking your rhythm. Your presence near the issue, though, does the work for you. Most often, that tends to work. However, there might be times you need to level up your proximity control. This can be done in a variety of ways. It could be a subtle hand cue, a tap on the desk near the student, an open hand gesture near the student for them to continue the work, or a gentle point to the page in which the student should be reading or doing. We are still silent, though, and it is still a seamless way to get them back on task. These tiny moves prevent the behaviour from escalating and keeps the lesson flowing. The key is you are getting 2 for the price of 1. The behaviour you are concerned with ceases, and the teaching of learning for the rest of the room doesn't get impacted. Sometimes, however, you might be able to get there in time, or your first few nudges might not have worked. Maybe the room layout makes movement tricky, or maybe you're just simply doing everything you can to stay calm, and whatever you've been doing hasn't worked. This is where I use my favourite ACE card, known as the self-interrupt. This is where, if you're mid-explanation or explaining something or instructing to the class, you wait for a really long, stop mid-word, look at the student that you're concerned with, and wait for the response from there. It's no words, no lecture, just a clean, calm, composed pause. Again, the silence does all the work, but this time it's really obvious for the rest of the class. Either the students notice, oops, I've stuffed up here, or I'll guarantee the friend next to the person off task gets the memo and gives his or her friend a quiet nudge to get back on task. Once the student re-engages, you pick up exactly where you left off. It's incredibly effective because it corrects the behaviour without it derailing the lesson. However, there might be some concerns in your classroom that mightn't allow you to roam freely. You still have some options. If you're stuck up the front, perhaps look at teaching from different anchor points rather than the one fixed spot. Use deliberate scanning, letting your eyes become your movement. Or build predictable routines in place so students know what your cues mean. You might be using visual prompts on the board or desk, or cards that students instantly recognise. Using a reset gesture, a raised hand, still posture, or a pause that signals attention. And sometimes those don't work, because these are by no means a win situation every single time. They're simply the first card we play. And that also means we've got a lot left up our sleeve should it not work, rather than going to the big response in the first instance. Because if we do that, it doesn't give us much wiggle room after. If it doesn't work, we simply level up our strategy or pivot when need to. But if we choose to level up, it should only be response to the actual behaviour, not our frustration. And that's another whole episode in itself. And don't worry, that one's coming. As we've quickly worked out, non-verbal redirections aren't flashy, but it's one of those small habits that allow us to construct the classroom environment we desire. When we correct early, calmly, and without fanfare, we ultimately protect the learning environment for all involved. And most importantly, protect our precious teaching time. It's a simple move with a big ripple effect to the outcomes of the students in your classroom. That's all for today's episode of Empowering Educators. If you're keen to dive deeper into more of what we do for both teachers and students at Empowerment Ed, or explore our face-to-face professional learning opportunities, head to www.empowerment-ed.com.au to see what we're building for educators like you. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, take care.